you have to keep updating yourself. And that's about it. If you guys have any questions about my experience, ask right now, or if you guys want to know, just wait with the questions later.
What district do you work in?
So I don't work in any district right now. I am assigned to investigation division, and we don't have districts. That used to be when we have a little bit more people in the investigation division. Each detective had one district assigned, but right now, since we have less detectives, we kind of just take case by case, and one might be on the south side, and then after you might get one by Hilltop. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is that enough as an introduction, Michelle, or do you want me to?
No, go ahead and finish the rest, and then we'll take questions at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, again, that's kind of like about it in a short statement about me. I spend mainly on patrol, mainly on the south side, so I know beat 1, 2, and 3 pretty well. But as a field training officer, I was all over the city, and I mainly work graveyard, so I know the city pretty well after business hours.
Hold on, I'm sorry. So Detective Marichek, do you want to talk a little bit about the robbery investigations and what it takes to investigate a robbery from beginning to prosecution?
Yes. So at the beginning, I'm just gonna say a robbery based on the legal definition. That's taking somebody else's property by force or by fear. So it doesn't have to be actual physical assault. It could just be by fearing for your safety. So that's the legal definition. And that's what the courts and us as a law enforcement community go by. What we do in order to successfully investigate a robbery incident that unfortunately occurs. Obviously, we rely on the initial report. So when a person calls 911 and says, I've been robbed and the suspect or suspects stole my property, the patrol officer usually tries to get as much information on the spot as possible. Like how the suspect looked like, what was taken, what was the direction of the flight, is there any vehicle associated? And if they have time, and it depends on time of the day, they will also do neighborhood canvas. They will go in the neighborhood and they'll try to look for business security cameras or cameras placed at the private residences. So they'll try to gather as much information as possible for us at the investigation division. So once we are assigned the case, and again, this goes case by case, so it's not exactly the same with every robbery incident, but usually what I do, I try to contact the person, the victim, and get some kind of update. Maybe it's a day, 2 or 3 after the incident. Maybe they remember a little bit more what happened, because sometimes when something like this happens to you, you experience, it could be a mild shock. So you might not remember some details. So I usually call, it could be a quick phone call. If you remember any other details that the officer who talked to you on the scene maybe forgot to ask, or maybe you forgot to mention, and then I will go to the location of the incident and I'll do secondary neighborhood canvas, because sometimes depends on time of the day, people might not be able to get the video of from the neighborhood, or maybe the video of the incident. So I go back and I try to get one, knock on the door, leave my business card over there if I can, or contact the people and maybe get the video from them. And also I can check our records management and see if maybe somebody who lives at certain address, maybe we had prior contact with him, so I can get the video even without leaving the office. And then obviously we go by evidence. We try to get, these days, DNA. If there's any chance that the suspect left any DNA at the scene, or maybe we can track the person to a nearby business where there might be a video, or again, like some DNA, it could be at the restaurant. We'll try to get DNA, and then we'll submit the DNA to the crime lab, and hopefully we can get some positive, what we call a hit from the DNA. And then talking to officers, talking to detectives and officers from another jurisdiction. We live in the Bay Area, and just because the crime happens in Richmond doesn't mean the suspect is from Richmond, or the suspect or suspects. Usually what's happening, those suspects, they will travel, and it's the I-80 corridor. It might be from somebody from Sacramento, or it could be somebody from San Jose. They just go up and down the freeway, take the exit, do quick robbery, and then go back on the freeway and try to flee. So intelligence and information sharing is important in our case. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we do. Obviously, some incidents, and I'll be full honest with you guys, some incidents, we have limited information. It could be suspect that has face mask, it could have gloves, and it could be a neighborhood that's not very well lit with limited witness information. So sometimes we have just little follow-up with no success, and sometimes we could get from little big case.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people don't understand what we actually need to be able to solve our robbery series. And I thought you brought up a good point about lighting too. We can come back to that later. I think the second part of what I would like to have you talk a little bit more about is, you know, what kinds of things are you seeing? I mean, I know in some of our recent robberies, we've been seeing who are distracted when they're walking, you know, people who are often, you know, carrying valuables, getting in their car. What kind of things do you think that neighborhood folks would want to know to help prevent themselves from being a victim of robbery? And what are some crime prevention tips you can recommend?
So it kind of goes everything hand in hand with the being, you know, in the neighborhood, being vigilant in the neighborhood, and also the crime prevention. Unfortunately, it is said that we have to be more vigilant than ever in 2023, because crime is happening, and unfortunately, robberies are on the rise. For the past year, has been a huge increase, and not just in city of Richmond, but all over the Bay Area and all over the nation. It just, when I read the news, when I check the statistics, it's just happening. So sometimes when I get the report and I'm just trying to find out why the victim did what they did, and if they maybe were thinking a little bit more about the location. For example, we have a few robberies from victims that recently got cash out of ATM. Somebody is going to be watching ATM and will just wait for a victim to get money. They'll follow them, and people don't pay attention. Most days people are on the cell phone. So just be vigilant to your surroundings. Once you leave ATM or a bank with large amount of cash, just be vigilant, or if you can, put the envelope with the money under a seat. Do not leave it next to you where somebody can just break the window and steal it from you. Don't go to ATM at 11 o'clock when the parking lot is 11 o'clock PM, when the parking lot is empty and nobody's around there, because for the criminal, there is no witnesses, there is less people, which is mean much more opportunity for them to be not to be identified. Also, don't flash big jewelry, not just on the social media, but also if you know it's you going out and it's 9 p.m. and you're walking through a neighborhood that might not be the best, try not to show your expensive watch. Try not to show that you have a shiny jewelry, because all this stuff, it just brings attention. And sometimes robberies are just crime of opportunity. It could just be somebody who was not planning to rob somebody today, but they were like, oh my God, this person has something that's valuable. Let's try to get it.
Yeah, those are all really good tips. And I know that we have also, I'm not telling her that she has to speak, but we also have our crime analyst who's on the line. And we have been working in a new way in the department. Was actually kind of reverting back to an old way, is just really to try to get ahead of some of the crime trends and to try to share more information with the public, as a first hit, so that you all are aware and you all can kind of use prevention. Prevention is not about being scared. We're not trying to scare anybody from walking in your neighborhood or going and doing things. Crime prevention is really about you just being aware and focused on, things that we can help do to keep ourselves safe and try to make the neighborhood safer. And definitely with robberies, some of the robberies we've been seeing, people are distracted. Usually the suspects are kind of walking behind a person. So, being aware of your personal space. If someone's starting to invade it, walking in well-lit areas. So you're not walking kind of off to the side where nobody can see you. Walking with a dog helps, or taking a walk with somebody else if you're going to take a walk around the neighborhood. And then, just as was previously said, avoid, carrying things that might be attractive to thieves when you go out. Try to pack light. Try to make sure that, I have a relative that always keeps their wallet in their sock, which I think, part of me is like, that's crazy, but they like, hey, if I need to go somewhere, I just keep it in there and I try to pack light. Those kinds of things are helpful. And it's important that, we not share it with just folks who are here, but really young people, because young people more than often than not are the victims of a lot of these robberies. And I don't think that there is enough that may be done to outreach to some of the youth in our community about just kind of being aware of their surroundings. I know we had a recent robbery where somebody, not saying they were young, but had some expensive tennis shoes taken. So things like that. So it's really important for us to be aware of it, but also folks in your neighborhood and some of the youth in your community to be aware. So definitely appreciate that. I wanted to see if you had anything else. If not, I can open up for question and answer, because I'm sure
Yes,
that there are people.
and it's just super simple. We all have it. It's kind of like the sixth sense. When you feel that something is not right, most of the time it's not right. So when you drive somewhere and you see something that looks a little suspicious, you know what, maybe turn around and go, to another location. When you walk through a neighborhood, and it could be your neighborhood or it could be, anywhere, and I'm not talking just about city of Richmond, and you feel that there might be somebody who's watching you a little too much and you can feel it, maybe it's happening, like, go on the other side or try to stay where there's more people around. So it's, like I said, we just have to be a little bit more vigilant. And if you have smartphone, which almost everybody has these days, I would suggest learn the online banking, not to keep cash on you. And if you have a social media, again, do not show expensive things, because it just brings the attention. And if it brings the attention, it just, you might be the target.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about the role of social media in robberies, because sometimes the robberies happen and they are crimes of opportunity where the individual is just kind of, sees a victim and sees the opportunity there. But sometimes there are robberies that happen and there are people who or have familiarity with in some kind of way, and they might see that you posted, I got a brand new designer purse.
Yes.
And and then you're the victim in that way. So have you seen cases like that?
Not with Richmond, at least nothing recently in Richmond, but I know in the Bay Area it's happening. I'm sure that everybody saw recently there's been streak of robberies of Rolexes, right? And people who have expensive watch, mainly Rolex, those are $20,000-$30,000 watches, and they are targeted. Those people are targeted. So somebody knows that they have the expensive watch, will tell somebody else, and they'll just follow the person. You mentioned a case with the expensive shoes, right? I mean, I'm not the one who's investigating the case, so I don't know exactly the details. But again, it could just be somebody who has expensive shoes and it was just crime opportunity. Somebody on the street knew the value of that and it happened. Or it could be, hey, this person just bought expensive shoes, let's go and get them, right? I mean, to be honest, like, I don't carry any cash on me, and I haven't carried cash on me for years, and I don't wear expensive clothes. I have no jewelry, and it just, I'm trying not to be the target.
Yes, thank you for that. And I see that others have joined us. In case you just joined us, we're talking about robbery prevention. So we're talking about prevention tips, how robberies are investigated. And so we just had a conversation about what they look for in robbery investigations, how folks travel and usually take freeways and entrances and exits to get away fast, and what they kind of look for in crimes of opportunity. And then we also talked about some prevention tips about being aware of your surroundings. But I'm going to go to some of the questions because I do see a hands up, but I saw something in the chat first. And it's not a question, but it's a comment maybe you could respond to. Being aware of body language and nonverbal cues. Is that something that you would recommend that people kind of maybe watch out for?
Yes. And again, like, I'm kind of gonna go back to the sixth sense. Like, if you feel it's not right, if you see that this person, like, we all see when somebody is maybe drunk or under the influence of drugs, right? We usually like try to avoid contact with them. We go on other side just because you never know what might happen. I'm not saying that people who commit robberies are under influence or drunk, but I mean, if you feel that it just like they looking at me weird or the different way, or they keep staring at me, they keep following me. I saw this person at Safeway in El Cerrito, and right now I see them 5 blocks away, and they are still behind me. Like, if it doesn't seem right, it's probably not right.
Thank you. Cordell, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me, Michelle?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so one of the things, okay, now I know this sounds like a silly question, but can you go into more detail about what kind of things that okay, let me back it up. What kind of items that are the most common for thieves?
Cordell.
Okay,
Yes.
I wasn't sure if there is a second part of the question. So if I'll talk about Richmond, in Richmond, it's mainly cell phones and wallet.
Oh yeah.
That's 80% of our robberies. It's just currency, which is gonna be mainly in a wallet, and cell phones. That's
Yeah.
80%. If I talk it like Bay Area wise, it just depends on location. I mean, it's kind of plus and minus, right? Weed in Richmond, we don't have a big shopping malls. We don't have a big expensive stores like, let's say, like they have in Walnut Creek or San Francisco. So we have mainly the local traffic. So people who will be spending a lot of money for designer stuff usually don't come to Richmond. So but in places like Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Oakland, San Francisco, even San Jose, it's gonna be the expensive stuff. It's gonna be the Rolex watches. It's gonna be the expensive shoes. It'll be jewelry. So it depends on the location and the geographical area for sure.
Yeah, and that's a good point about cell phones. Another reason to, if you can, avoid being on your cell phone while you're walking or, kind of getting into your car and stuff like that. Are there other questions? Go ahead, Miss. We're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Miss Naomi. Okay, we'll come back. Were there other questions that folks had? Feel free to
Mi-
raise your, or go ahead.
Michelle, I have one thing to add.
Go ahead, Haley. Miss Naomi, we'll come back to you when we can hear you a little better. Go ahead, Haley.
Another kind of area that we've been noticing is the online sales. Something to present or to prevent is if you are, selling something online and you're going to be meeting somebody, you want to meet somebody in a safe place. And you can always come to the PD parking lot to exchange or sell whatever items you're selling online.
Thank you, Haley. That's a really good point. I don't know if you guys have ever driven into 1701 Regatta into the parking lot, but there is a parking stall designated for sales or child exchange. And you can meet there because there are a lot of folks who, it's good to be able to connect with your neighbors, get things online. But sometimes, you don't know who you're buying from or selling from. So meeting in a public place like the police department is, is an option for people. And we have seen kind of sale exchange or point of sale exchange kind of go bad sometimes. So that's a great point. Great.
Yeah,
Were there
I
other?
definitely
Go-
agree. That's an excellent point. We recently had one where a guy was trying to sell an item and basically got robbed. And I would say it was kind of like common sense stuff. He goes and there's two guys with face mask. I mean, you're selling an item and you're gonna meet somebody somewhere off Florida in 19, and people have face masks, and he still did it instead of meeting at a public place or in front of the police department where could be safe. And if you see an ad anywhere, it could be in Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist. If the deal is too good, it's probably scam.
Yeah. So if you see that $50 Louis Vuitton purse, it's probably not, probably not real. And it's probably somebody trying to get you out your money. Are there other questions? Any other questions that you guys have to ask? This is your time.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I came in a little late, so I don't know if we talked about how people can keep their homes from being broken into, because I know somebody who said he's had his home broken into numerous times, and I couldn't help but wonder, what is he doing that is not keeping his house safe or something? I'm not to blame him, but what can people do to prevent the numerous break-ins to their houses?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's a timely point too, Carol, because we have had a couple of home invasions recently, which is different from a burglary. So a robbery, is, you saw fear, force that's happening with the item or that someone has. Home burglary obviously is, burglary of your home. One of the things I recommend to people is to, if you do nothing else, make sure that you have a solid core door and you get your door reinforced, because sometimes it's door kicks. Make sure that your windows are locked. Make sure you get a home alarm if you can. I know not everybody can afford a home alarm, but home alarms are helpful. And they are an option for people so that you can have at least an alert if you're away from home. The other thing I recommend is that people cut their bushes and hedges so that there's a clear line of sight for your home. So somebody can't just sneak behind a bush or go somewhere unseen. A lot of times what happens when homes are repeated victims of, break-ins, they sometimes are in areas where it's difficult to see, or it just makes it easy for people to get in. And so it's good to do an assessment if you've been a victim of a home burglary to kind of figure out why it is. We do something called a CPTED, which is a crime prevention through environmental design survey, where we'll come out and do a security survey and kind of see where the weak points of your house are.
Mhm.
If you've ever tried to break into your own house because you lost your keys and you know how to do this, what is the easiest way to get in? Usually it's a low-lying window. It could be a sliding glass door that you can lift off the track. And if you can do it, somebody else can do it as well. So it's important for us to kind of take a look at some of the vulnerabilities of your home, you know, side gates where people can just kind of slip in the back, go in the backyard and not be seen and get in through the back. So those are some things that people can and should do. Sometimes there's something in your home that somebody may know about. Then that's the reason why they're, you know, targeting your home. I'm not saying that's the case in your friend's case, but you know, going back to the expensive jewelry, expensive items, hate to say it, but you know, you know, maybe you have something, you know, I mean, it's legal now. Maybe you have some cannabis at the home and people know it's there. And, you know, you've had friends over, they've told a friend of a friend, and then they come back over to try to get what you have, or they know you have some money in the house. So it's just being careful about, you know, letting people know kind of what kind of things are in your home too. So he can always, if he needs some support, reach out to us and we're happy to work with him.
And
Any more about that?
Another thing, what you can do just from the outside, keep your front yard and stuff that people can see from the street, keep it clean, because if they see that, you know, it's unkept, or you leave, you know, some gardening tools in front of your house, or you leave door or window open to your car in the driveway, or you just, you know, sometimes you don't close your garage and they can see what's in your garage. All that stuff brings attention. And don't forget, people who commit this property related crime, it's usually same 20% of people are committing the same crime over and over. So they are professional. They are basically professional criminals. So if they go around the neighborhood and let's see, they see one house that's unkept and has a lot of items in front of the main door, like that's gonna bring the attention to them. That's gonna be like, okay, like those people, they don't care too much about how their house looks. It's gonna be probably easy to break in. And I know it could be costly, but at the same time, it's much cheaper than it used to be. Video cameras. Right now, you can go and buy few of them for around maybe $100 at Best Buy or Amazon, and you can just install them to the front of your house, and it's gonna give you the notification. It's not that expensive as it used to be, but it's still an expense. But you know, don't forget, it's your house. That's, you know, you should feel safe in your own house. So sometimes you just have to invest into it.
Thank you so much. I see Miss Braxton's hands up, and then I'll go to Carol's question in the chat. Go ahead, Miss Braxton.
I was also told is that, for example, if you buy like a large screen TV, it always comes in a box, or some of the other things that you purchase that come in boxes, is that you should try to tear them up so it won't be so obvious that you just bought a new TV or a new computer or whatever.
Yeah, break the box into small pieces and put it in the small pieces in a garbage bin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Good point. Carol asked a question in the chat, a couple questions. You know, home invasions can be much worse. How can you prevent those? And so, yeah, I know
mean,
home invasion is
it's
a different kind of crime, but
usually the home invasions that I was able to investigate as a patrol officer or as a detective, that's 90% of them are targeted. That's, you know, you have something in your house. It could be a firearm, or it could be, you know, a large amount of prescription pills, or it could be the expensive designer clothes. Usually those are targeted, that somebody said something, or maybe you showed something to one of your friends who's, you know, associated with crooks. So the prevention is like, you know, again, don't flash too much of expensive stuff, because you just never know. And I'm gonna say something that might sound a little crazy, but you just never know. You could be a best friend with somebody, but the somebody, your best friend, 2-3 years from now could start seeing somebody else who might be related to crime, or could have a big difficulty financially. So they're gonna look for some easy cash, and that could be one of the ways they do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, again, kind of just being mindful. We all like, whatever we like, I like nice things and stuff like that, but just being careful about like, how you show those kinds of things. I saw another good question in the chat. What can you do if you notice people consistently casing your home? That's something that's come up quite a bit, like, door-to-door salesmen, or I had an incident recently. My family lives in Oakland, and I was with a family member, and somebody came to the door asking for work. And, you don't know. I mean, it could be perfectly innocent, but you don't know. But this person didn't have a business card. They didn't have any work tools. They didn't have anything that indicated that they were doing any yard work or anything like that. And didn't ask for some money. So that let me know they weren't really asking for work. So we do have a Ring doorbell so we could see those kinds of things. But, you don't have to open your door to people if you don't want to. So that's one thing to consider about, is that you control, who you open the door to and who you don't. And if you're not expecting somebody, you don't know who it is, I would suggest don't do that. The other thing you may want to consider, and I would encourage people to consider, as you're kind of thinking about those kind of protective mechanisms. It's like thinking about a camera. If you can, a camera doesn't stop crime from happening, but it helps. Detective, I don't know what your thoughts are about, people casing your home or whatever. I think the cameras have kind of helped because you can kind of see the porch package theft that happens, right?
Yes. Obviously, cameras, they help. It could be a deterrent for people to commit crimes, because usually, let's say somebody's gonna leave a package in front of your door, right? So the suspect or the crook sees the package. They might go around the corner, put a face mask on, and then return. But we know it's a common tactic, so we'll go back and watch the video, not just the 30 seconds before the theft, but we might watch 20 minutes before the theft. We might watch for a suspicious vehicle that's driving through the neighborhood. We might have several package thefts in one neighborhood, and then we'll be able to link all the crimes to possibly one vehicle or the same suspects. So, I mean, it's definitely a good thing. Like you said, it's not gonna stop criminals from committing crime. We all know that, but it's one more investigative tool for us, and it could be a little piece of safety for you. Also at night, I mean, if you can, well lit front porch, the front of the house, your walkway, that helps. If you have a side yard that gets really dark at night and you cannot lock the gate, I would do that too. Put a lock, put a light, kind of like the smart security and crime prevention tips, like all that helps. And also, I know we are post-COVID in 2023, but talk to your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors, because maybe when you're not at home, they see something suspicious. They can call you. They can call us. So if you know your neighbors on your street, or at least maybe 2-3 houses on each side and across the street, that helps too, because somebody's at home all the time and somebody's watching all the time.
Yes, that's a really important point. Let's see. Cordell, did you still have your hand raised, or was that just from before, you and Miss Brack?
Actually, this I had another question for the KM RPD. I just remembered the other question. I just remembered it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, one of the things that I've noticed, with robbery. So I know this because people were like, expecting, like certain packages from either Neiman Marcus or vice versa. So I've noticed that because what can is there any ways that is there any way that people can, like, making sure that their package arrives, in a timely manner? That was a silly question, so I'm like, I don't know if that can be if that can be responded.
Yeah, there's never a silly question, Cordell. What kind of things, if you're expecting a package coming to your home, that you should think about?
So obviously we all depend on the shipping companies, right? It could be UPS, FedEx, it could be Amazon, it could be a private person doing that as a contractor. Like we depend on them, and they work mainly between, let's say, 7 and 8, maybe 9 p.m. Depends on the season. Sometimes they might be working a little later. If you're buying something what's a little bit more expensive and you are afraid that somebody might steal it, I would just go and either schedule delivery time if possible, because some of those companies, they will allow you to do that, or be sure that you're at home so you can take possession of the package all the time. From my own personal experience, I know that if the package is a little bit more expensive, let's say you're buying a new cell phone or you're buying like the expensive purse, usually you have to sign for that. So again, if you are afraid, like, either, I know some of the companies you can pick it up at their location. Amazon has the Amazon boxes, or the Prime locations at local stores where they can leave it for you. Again, it's hard to say that in a prevention for that unless it comes from you, because with the shipping, we depend on the shipping company and their routes. So you might be the first stop in the morning, 30 minutes after you leave for work.
Absolutely. And the other thing you can do with packages and stuff that you're getting is Amazon has drop boxes. There's other places you can have them delivered. I use a PO box with UPS. And that's really great because, I just have all my packages delivered there. And when at the end of the week, I go and pick them up, and I don't have to worry about them sitting out someplace and, me being home for that. So those are other options that, people have as well. I think we're going to have time for about one more question. This one is, my Ring camera lights come on when there's movement, and I have linked them to the whole front, side, and back of the house. So, I know we talked about Ring, we talked about flock safety. We're not kind of, saying any other device before that, but you've talked a little bit about that. Do you think that those devices are helpful?
Absolutely. Plus, first of all, you get notification on your phone right away. If you set up the like the safety feature on it, you'll get notification on your phone right away. And let's be honest, we all have our smartphone on us all the time. Like, it's the first thing we check in the morning and the last thing we check before we go to bed. So, you get a notification so you can look out of the window or notify your neighbor if you're not at home that something's going on. Again, it's the little stuff, but because of the smart gadgets, they are getting smarter and smarter. And right now they include the AI technology, so it can detect if it's an animal or if it's a human. Yeah, definitely it's beneficial to have it. And if you can, I would definitely invest into it. Like, for example, on my personal house, when I'm in a way and when I have alarm, my camera will start automatically talking and tell the people, it could be a delivery person, hey, you are being recorded and such as that. So it's it could be pricey, but at the same time, if you can, it's definitely beneficial.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think we've gone over a lot of things today. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about robberies, how we investigate robberies, what you can do to keep yourself safe. Also, some things you could do to keep your home safe, and some tools that you can invest in to help protect yourself. Again, this is about crime prevention. Crime prevention is not about you living in fear. We want you to go out and live your life, do the things that you love to do, enjoy, do things with your family. It's just about being a little bit smarter about when you do those things, so that we can all kind of just be mindful of how we can keep ourselves safe. It's no different than, during COVID season, wearing a mask, or, just being more careful, at certain times. That's what I liken it to. It's, taking your echinacea, doing everything you can do so that you can stay healthy. There's just things that we just have to be kind of mindful of, especially at certain times of the year too, like, holiday shopping season, of things that we need to do to kind of keep ourselves. And if you kind of incorporate these things into the way that you do it, if everybody does an assessment, kind of watches some of these things, I think that, we'll all kind of drill those things into our head. So I really appreciate everybody for being online. We're really strong today. I got a lot of people who are interested. If you missed a part of this or you didn't catch a part of this, I am recording it so that we can send it back to you and you can share it with your friends and neighbors. So that is about it. We will meet again. We always meet on the fourth Wednesday of the month. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, May the 24th. May actually has 5 Wednesdays, coincidentally, but we'll be meeting on the 24th. And we'll have a topic then. I think that has been a request for us to talk about homelessness and unhoused issues. So that might be our topic. I know that's going to be a hot topic, because a lot of people have concerns about, how they address encampments and other things in the neighborhood. But I want to thank everybody from RPD, Detective Marichek, Haley, and, I saw Lieutenant Bashan was on as well for being a part of this today and for connecting. Appreciate everybody.
All
Thank
right,
you,
thank
Michelle.
you.
Thank you guys.
you.
Have a great rest of
Thank
your
you
day.
very much.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Hey, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Good night.